The arrival. The massive crystalline spires of the Galactic Academy of Sciences loomed before Zoe Hawkins, their iridescent surfaces refracting the light of 3 suns. At just 12 years old, Zoe was the youngest student ever admitted to this prestigious institution, and the first human. Her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation as she stepped off the quantum shuttle, her small duffel bag clutched tightly to her chest. The docking bay bustled with activity. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and species hurried about their business, barely sparing a glance for the diminutive human in their midst. Zoe's eyes widened as she took in the sights. A group of towering insectoid exarful communicating via rapid clicks and whistles. A pair of amorphous blobians oozing their way towards a nearby elevator, and a cluster of avians preening their feathers while discussing quantum mechanics. Cadet Hawkins. A melodious voice cut through the cacophony of alien languages. Zoe turned to see a slender, blue-skinned humanoid approaching her. The alien's 4 arms were neatly folded, and its large, almond-shaped eyes blinked vertically as it regarded her. "I am Administrator Zilvax. Welcome to the Galactic Academy of Sciences." Zoe straightened her posture and extended her hand, remembering her diplomatic training. "Thank you, Administrator Zilvax. It's an honor to be here." Zilvax looked at Zoe's outstretched hand curiously, before gently grasping it with one of their lower arms. "Ah yes, the human custom of manual greeting. Fascinating." They released Zoe's hand and gestured towards the main complex. "Please, follow me. I'll show you to your quarters and provide you with your orientation materials." As they walked through the sprawling campus, Zoe couldn't help but marvel at the advanced technology surrounding her. Holographic displays flickered with equations and star charts, while anti-gravity platforms ferried students and equipment between buildings. The air itself seemed alive with possibility. "I must admit," Zilvax said as they entered a towering dormitory, "there was quite a debate among the admissions council regarding your acceptance. Some felt that humans were not yet ready for the rigors of our institution." Zoe felt a familiar pang of doubt, but pushed it aside. "I understand, Administrator. I hope to prove that humanity has something valuable to contribute to galactic science." Zilvax's mouth quirked in what Zoe hoped was a smile. "Your test scores were certainly impressive, young one. But raw intelligence is only part of the equation here. You'll be competing against the brightest minds from across the galaxy, many with natural advantages in cognitive processing or sensory perception that humans simply don't possess." They arrived at a small room that would serve as Zoe's home for the foreseeable future. It was sparse by Earth standards, but equipped with technology beyond her wildest dreams. A holographic interface sprang to life as they entered, displaying a welcome message in perfect English. "Your classes begin tomorrow," Zilvax informed her. "I suggest you use this time to acclimate yourself to the environment and review the orientation materials. The gravity and atmospheric settings can be adjusted to Earth normal, but many students prefer to experience a variety of conditions to broaden their adaptability." Zoe nodded, already itching to explore the room's capabilities. "Thank you, Administrator. I won't let you down." As Zilvax turned to leave, they paused in the doorway. "One last thing, Cadet Hawkins. The Intergalactic Cognitive Olympics will be held here at the Academy in 3 standard months. It's a prestigious competition that draws the most brilliant young minds from across the known universe. Given your unique status, the Council has granted you special permission to participate, should you qualify. It would be an unprecedented opportunity for a human to compete on such a stage." With that tantalizing piece of information, Zilvax departed, leaving Zoe alone with her thoughts and the soft hum of alien technology. The next few days were a whirlwind of new experiences. Zoe threw herself into her studies with a fervor that surprised even her most skeptical instructors. She devoured lectures on hyperspace mechanics, mastered the basics of psychic mathematics, and even began to grasp the fundamentals of quantum biology. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Many of her fellow students regarded her with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Whispers followed her through the halls. "Look at the little primate. I heard they still use fossil fuels on her planet. How did something so primitive even get accepted here? Zoe did her best to ignore the comments, focusing instead on the wonders around her. She found allies in unexpected places, a shy Meldarian empath who appreciated Zoe's emotional honesty, and a boisterous Krogan whose species valued determination above all else. It was during a particularly challenging xenolinguistics seminar that Zoe's true potential began to shine through. The instructor, a multi-brain Tholian named Dr. Xix, presented the class with an ancient artifact covered in undeciphered glyphs. This tablet has puzzled our greatest minds for centuries, Dr. Xix explained, his crystalline form shimmering as he spoke. The language appears to be a hybrid of at least 3 extinct species, with a non-linear temporal structure. Your task is to, yes, Cadet Hawkins. Zoe had raised her hand, her eyes never leaving the holographic representation of the tablet. Dr. Xix, I think I see a pattern in the symbol placement. May I approach for a closer look? The class fell silent as Zoe walked to the front of the room. She studied the glyphs intently, her mind racing. Suddenly, her fingers began to dance across the holographic interface, rearranging symbols and overlaying geometric patterns. If we consider the possibility of a 4-dimensional language structure, Zoe murmured, almost to herself, and account for the gravitational influence of a binary star system on the writer's perception of time. The glyphs began to shift and realign under her touch. Gasps of astonishment rippled through the classroom as coherent sentences emerged from the chaos. Dr. Xix's crystalline structure vibrated with excitement. Extraordinary. In mere minutes, you've made more progress than our best linguists have in decades. How did you? Zoe blinked, coming out of her problem-solving trance. It just sort of made sense. Like a puzzle where you can see the whole picture at once. News of Zoe's breakthrough spread quickly through the academy. Suddenly, the whispers that followed her took on a different tone. Did you hear what the human did in Dr. Xix's class? I heard the Arcturian Department of Temporal Studies wants to recruit her. Maybe there's more to these humans than we thought. As Zoe returned to her room that evening, exhausted but exhilarated, she found a message waiting for her on her holographic display. It was from Administrator Zilvax. Cadet Hawkins, your performance today has not gone unnoticed. The Cognitive Olympics Committee has expressed great interest in your participation. Report to my office tomorrow at 800 hours to discuss your training regimen. It seems humanity may have its first real chance to make a mark on the galactic stage. Don't squander this opportunity. Zoe fell back onto her bed, her mind reeling with the possibilities that lay ahead. She had come to the Galactic Academy of Sciences hoping to learn, to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. Now she faced the chance to do so much more, to shatter preconceptions, to push the boundaries of what was thought possible, and perhaps even to change the course of human history. As the artificial night cycle dimmed the lights in her room, Zoe closed her eyes, dreaming of puzzles yet unsolved and a universe of endless potential. The real challenge was only just beginning. The challenge. The following weeks at the Galactic Academy of Sciences were a blur of intense study and preparation for Zoe. Her daily routine became a carefully orchestrated symphony of advanced classes, specialized training sessions, and grueling problem-solving exercises. The looming intergalactic cognitive Olympics consumed her thoughts, driving her to push beyond what she thought possible. Administrator Zilvax had assembled a diverse team of instructors to prepare Zoe for the challenges ahead. There was Dr. Krell, a Vulpinian probability expert whose fox-like features belied a mind that could calculate the odds of any given event to 100 decimal places. Professor Elorix, a Luminarian light being, taught Zoe the art of multidimensional visualization. And then there was Groknak, a gruff Krogan battle strategist who insisted that true problem-solving required the heart of a warrior. One particularly challenging morning found Zoe in a simulation chamber, her mind linked to a neural interface as she tackled a series of increasingly complex puzzles. Holographic projections swirled around her, representing abstract concepts and multidimensional problems that would have been impossible to visualize with human eyes alone. "Faster, little star," Groknak bellowed from the observation deck, using the nickname he bestowed upon her. "Your enemies in the Olympics won't wait for you to admire the beauty of the problem. Conquer it." Zoe's brow furrowed in concentration as she manipulated the holographic constructs with her mind, rearranging quantum probabilities and aligning temporal paradoxes. Just as she thought she'd solved one layer of the puzzle, another would reveal itself, like a never-ending Russian nesting doll of complexity. "Remarkable," Dr. Krull murmured, his tail swishing in agitation. "The human child is operating at 73.8% efficiency in scenarios that would drive most advanced species to neural overload. However, that still leaves a 26.2% gap to close before she can hope to compete with the galactic elite." Zoe tried to tune out their commentary, focusing instead on the intricate web of possibilities before her. There was a solution here, she knew it, if she could just see the pattern, the underlying structure that tied everything together. Suddenly, it clicked. In a burst of intuition, Zoe's mind raced ahead, making connections faster than she could consciously process. The holographic display erupted in a dazzling array of colors as the puzzle resolved itself, each piece falling into place with a satisfying chime. As the simulation faded, Zoe became aware of the stunned silence in the room. She turned to see her instructors staring at her with a mixture of awe and confusion. Professor Elorix's luminous form pulsed with excitement. In all my cycles of teaching, I'd never seen anyone approach a hyperdimensional logic matrix quite like that. It was as if you weren't solving the puzzle so much as convincing it to solve itself. Zoe shrugged, still trying to catch her breath. "I just tried to see the whole picture at once, you know. Like, instead of tackling each part separately, I imagined how they all wanted to fit together." Groknak let out a booming laugh. "Ha! The little star doesn't just solve problems. She negotiates with them. Perhaps there's hope for you humans yet." As exhilarating as these breakthroughs were, they came at a cost. Zoe found herself increasingly isolated from her peers, her grueling schedule leaving little time for socialization. The few friends she had made, Zrixri, the empathic Meldarian, and Crunch, the boisterous young Krogan, did their best to support her, but the gap between them seemed to widen with each passing day. One evening, as Zoe sat alone in the Academy's vast arboretum, trying to clear her mind amidst the exotic alien flora, she was surprised by a familiar blue-skinned figure approaching. Cadet Hawkins, Administrator Zilvax greeted her, their forearms clasped behind their back. "Your progress reports are most impressive. However, I couldn't help but notice you seem troubled." Zoe sighed, absent-mindedly stroking the iridescent leaves of a nearby plant. "It's just, sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing. All this training, the pressure to prove myself, to prove humanity's worth. What if I'm not good enough? What if I let everyone down?" Zilvax was quiet for a moment, their vertical eyelids blinking thoughtfully. "Zoe," they said, using her first name for the first time, "do you know why the Council ultimately decided to admit you to the Academy?" Zoe shook her head. "It wasn't just your test scores, impressive as they were. It was the way you approached problems, with a creativity and intuition that many of our most advanced species lack. Humans, for all their technological shortcomings, possess a unique ability to see connections where others do not, to imagine possibilities that more rigid minds might overlook." Zilvax gestured to the strange and beautiful plants surrounding them. "The universe is vast and full of wonders, Zoe, but it is also full of challenges that no single species can hope to overcome alone. We need diversity of thought, of perspective. Your presence here, your participation in the Olympics, it's not about proving humanity's worth. It's about adding your voice to the grand conversation of the cosmos." Zoe felt a weight lift from her shoulders as she considered Zilvax's words. "So, it's okay if I don't win, as long as I do my best and show what humans are capable of." The administrator's mouth quirked in that not-quite smile. Precisely. Though, between you and me, I wouldn't count you out just yet. You've surprised us before, after all. As Zilvax turned to leave, they paused. Oh, and so, don't forget to cherish the friendships you've made here. In my experience, it is often our connections to others that inspire our greatest leaps forward. Taking the administrator's advice to heart, Zoe made a conscious effort to reconnect with Zrixri and Crunch over the next few days. She was surprised to find how much she had missed their company, and how their unique perspectives often sparked new ideas in her own mind. It was during one of these study sessions, as Zoe tried to explain a particularly tricky concept of human intuition to her alien friends, that she had her next major breakthrough. It's like, okay, imagine you're trying to navigate a maze, Zoe said, sketching out a crude labyrinth on a holographic display. But instead of just seeing the path in front of you, you can feel the shape of the whole maze, like it's a living thing with its own desires and patterns. Zrixri's antenna quivered with interest. I think I understand. It's similar to how my people sense emotional currents. We don't just perceive individual feelings, but the entire emotional landscape of a situation. Crunch scratched his scaly head. Bah, mazes are for scientists and sneaks. A true warrior would simply smash through the walls. Zoe laughed, but then paused, a spark of inspiration flickering in her mind. Wait a second. What if we combined all of those approaches? The intuition to sense the overall pattern, the empathy to understand its nature, and the boldness to forge a new path when necessary. Her friends watched in fascination as Zoe's hands flew across the holographic interface, combining elements of human cognitive mapping, Meldarian empathic resonance, and Krogan battle tactics into an entirely new problem-solving framework. By the cosmic egg, Zrixri breathed, her large eyes wide with wonder. I think you've just invented a whole new field of study, Zoe. Crunch pounded his chest in approval. Ha! Let's see those stuck-up Olympians try to outthink that. As news of Zoe's innovative approach spread through the academy, she found herself at the center of attention once again. But this time, it felt different. Instead of skepticism or resentment, she was met with genuine curiosity and excitement. Students and faculty from diverse species sought her out, eager to contribute their own unique perspectives to this emerging methodology. In the weeks leading up to the Intergalactic Cognitive Olympics, the Galactic Academy of Sciences buzzed with an energy it hadn't felt in centuries. Zoe's unconventional techniques had sparked a renaissance of interdisciplinary collaboration, with teams from various departments working together to explore new frontiers of problem-solving. As Zoe stood on the threshold of the greatest challenge of her young life, she realized that she had already accomplished something remarkable. Win or lose, she had shown the galaxy the true potential of humanity, not just as clever puzzle solvers, but as bridges between disparate modes of thought, catalysts for innovation and collaboration. The day of the Olympics dawned, and as Zoe made her way to the grand competition hall, she was surprised to find a welcoming committee waiting for her. Students and faculty from every species lined the path, cheering her on. Zrixri, Crunch, and even the normally stoic administrator Zilvax stood at the entrance, beaming with pride. "Remember, little star," Groknek growled, his eyes shining with uncharacteristic emotion, "you carry the fire of 1,000 suns within you. Now go and show the universe what it means to think like a human." With a deep breath and a determined smile, Zoe stepped into the hall, ready to face whatever challenges awaited her. The Intergalactic Cognitive Olympics were about to begin, and with them, a new chapter in the story of humanity's place among the stars. The competition begins. The Grand Competition Hall of the Galactic Academy of Sciences was a marvel of engineering and artistry. Its vast dome seemed to stretch into infinity, the ceiling a perfect recreation of the starry cosmos above. Hundreds of spectators from across the galaxy filled the tiered seating, their excited chatter creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and hums. At the center of it all stood Zoe, her heart pounding as she took in the sheer scale of the event. Around her, Competitors from a dizzying array of species made their final preparations. There was a quantum hive mind from the Andromeda Galaxy, its crystalline structure housing billions of interconnected consciousnesses. A pair of chronivores adjusted their temporal phase shifters, their bodies flickering in and out of multiple timelines. Even a rare void weaver was present, its non-Euclidean form hurting Zoe's eyes if she looked at it for too long. Competitors, take your positions. The booming voice of the chief adjudicator, a gaseous entity named Tylox, echoed through the hall. The first round of the Intergalactic Cognitive Olympics is about to commence. Zoe made her way to her designated pod, a sleek, egg-shaped structure that would serve as her interface with the Olympic challenges. As she settled into the form-fitting seat, holographic displays sprang to life around her, bathing her in a soft, blue glow. Round 1. Multidimensional Problem Solving. Tylox announced. You will be presented with a series of increasingly complex scenarios. Your task is to find optimal solutions within the given parameters. You have 60 temporal units. Begin. The interior of Zoe's pod transformed into a swirling vortex of light and information. She found herself immersed in a virtual environment, facing her first challenge. A city-sized labyrinth that constantly rearranged itself, with multiple objectives scattered throughout its ever-changing landscape. Zoe took a deep breath, centering herself. She reached out with her mind, not just seeing the labyrinth, but feeling its rhythms and patterns. The training with Professor Ilorix kicked in, allowing her to visualize the multi-dimensional structure in its entirety. But it wasn't enough to just see the puzzle. Zoe recalled Zrixri's lessons in empathic resonance, opening herself to the emotional currents of the virtual citizens trapped within the labyrinth. Their fears, hopes, and desires became a map of sorts, guiding her towards the most critical objectives. And when she encountered seemingly impassable barriers, Zoe channeled Crunch's boldness, finding creative ways to forge new paths and reshape the challenge itself. As she worked, Zoe became vaguely aware of the astonished murmurs from the spectators. Her unique approach, blending multiple alien techniques with human intuition, was unlike anything they had seen before. Remarkable. One of the judges, a hyper-intelligent shade of blue, commented. The human is treating the entire scenario as a living entity, negotiating with the problem itself rather than merely solving it. Before Zoe knew it, the first round was over. As the virtual environment faded away, she blinked in surprise, realizing she had completed not only the primary objectives, but several bonus challenges as well. The leaderboard materialized above the arena. Zoe's heart leaped as she saw her name near the top, surpassed only by the quantum hive mind and a particularly brilliant Arcturian supercomputer, an impressive showing from our unexpected human contender. Tylox's voice boomed. But the Olympics have only just begun. Prepare yourselves for round 2, temporal paradox resolution. As the competitors were given a brief respite between rounds, Zoe felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Administrator Zilvax, their blue skin shimmering with barely contained excitement. Cadet Hawkins, Zilvax said, their voice low, your performance in the first round has caused quite a stir. The Galactic Council of Sciences is watching with great interest. Keep this up, and you may change the course of human history. Zoe nodded, feeling the weight of expectation settle on her shoulders. I'll do my best, Administrator, for Earth and for the Academy. As Zilvax retreated, Zoe caught sight of a familiar face, or rather, crystalline structure, approaching her. It was Dr. Xix, her xenolinguistics instructor, vibrating with an intensity she had never seen before. Cadet Hawkins, Dr. Xix's harmonics rang with urgency. I must speak with you. Your approach to multidimensional problem solving. It bears a striking resemblance to the linguistic structures we uncovered in that ancient artifact. The one you helped decipher in class. Zoe's brow furrowed in confusion. But how is that possible? That language was from an extinct species, wasn't it? Dr. Xix's crystalline form shimmered with excitement. Indeed, a species that, according to legend, possessed the ability to manipulate the very fabric of reality through thought alone. Kedit, I believe you may have inadvertently tapped into a cognitive framework lost to the galaxy for eons. Before Zoe could fully process this revelation, the call came for competitors to return to their pods. As she made her way back, her mind raced with possibilities. Could her human intuition, combined with the techniques she'd learned at the Academy, really be connecting her to some ancient, powerful way of thinking? Round 2, Temporal Paradox Resolution, Xylox announced. You will navigate a series of causality loops and timeline inconsistencies. Your goal is to stabilize the temporal flow while preserving key historical events. Exercise extreme caution. Any misstep could unravel the very fabric of space-time. Begin. Zoe's pod hummed to life once more, and she found herself immersed in a dizzying array of intersecting timelines. Historical events from countless alien civilizations swirled around her, connections forming and breaking in a cosmic dance of cause and effect. This challenge was on another level entirely. Zoe saw several of her fellow competitors stumble, overwhelmed by the complexity of the temporal web. Even the mighty quantum hive minds seemed to struggle, its myriad consciousnesses falling into recursive loops as they tried to process the paradoxes. But for Zoe, something incredible was happening. As she reached out to touch the streams of time, she felt a resonance deep within her mind. The words of the ancient language she had helped decipher in Dr. Six's class echoed in her thoughts, each syllable a key to unraveling the temporal knots before her. With growing confidence, Zoe began to weave the timelines together, her hands moving in complex patterns, as if conducting a cosmic orchestra. She didn't just see the connections, she felt them, intuited them, coaxed them into harmony. Before Zoe could fully process this revelation, a commotion erupted in the main waiting area. She rushed back, Lyra close behind, to find Crunch engaged in a heated argument with a group of officials. You can't do this, the young Krogan roared, his scales flaring with anger. It's not fair. Administrator Zilvax stood at the center of the group, their forearms raised in a placating gesture. I understand your concern, Cadet Crunch, but the decision has been made. For the safety of all involved, certain precautions must be taken. Zoe pushed her way forward. What's going on? Zilvax turned to her, their vertical eyelids blinking rapidly. A sign of distress, Zoe had learned. Ah, Cadet Hawkins. In light of your unprecedented performance, the Olympic Committee has decided to implement additional security measures for the remaining rounds. Security measures, Zoe echoed, a sinking feeling in her stomach. A stern-looking official stepped forward, a device in his tentacled grasp. You will be required to wear this psionic dampener during the competition. It will ensure that you are not inadvertently accessing abilities beyond the scope of the Olympics. Crunch bristled. It's sabotage. They're afraid of what she can do, so they want to hobble her. Murmurs of agreement and disagreement rippled through the gathered competitors. Zoe could feel the weight of 100 alien gazes upon her, a mix of fear, awe, and resentment palpable in the air. Lyra placed a gentle hand on Zoe's shoulder. This is a pivotal moment, young one. How you respond will shape not only your fate, but potentially that of your entire species. Zoe took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. She looked at the device, then at Zilvax and the officials. I understand your concerns, she said, her voice clear and steady. I'll wear the dampener, on one condition, that all competitors be scanned for similar abilities and subjected to the same restrictions if found. A hush fell over the room. The official with the dampener sputtered. But that's... Do you have any idea how long that would take? Zoe stood her ground. If fairness and safety are truly your concerns, then it shouldn't matter. Either we all compete on equal footing, or we acknowledge that these precautions are about something else entirely. Administrator Zilvax's mouth quirked in what Zoe had come to recognize as a suppressed smile. The human raises a valid point. We must be consistent in our application of the rules. After a flurry of hurried discussions and barely concealed consternation, the Olympic Committee reluctantly agreed to Zoe's terms. The next hour was a flurry of activity as every competitor was subjected to a battery of scans and tests. To everyone's surprise, several other participants were found to possess latent abilities that could be considered beyond the scope of the competition. The quantum hive mind's processing power was temporarily limited. A Void Weaver was asked to remain in a single-dimensional state, and even the chronivores had their temporal manipulation abilities restricted. As Zoe finally took her place for the next round, the psionic dampener a cool weight against her temple, she felt a mix of emotions. There was frustration at having her newfound abilities limited, but also a sense of pride in having stood up for fairness. Moreover, she realized that this challenge would force her to rely on her core strengths, her human intuition, and the knowledge she had worked so hard to gain. Round 3. Ethical Dilemma Resolution. Psylocke's voice boomed through the hall. You will be presented with a series of complex moral and philosophical scenarios drawn from cultures across the galaxy. Your task is to find solutions that maximize positive outcomes while respecting the diverse values and beliefs of all involved parties. Begin. As the simulation engulfed her, Zoe found herself navigating a dizzying array of alien cultures and ethical systems. There were hive minds grappling with the concept of individual rights, silicon-based life forms arguing the personhood of organic beings, and civilizations whose entire moral framework was based on the manipulation of probability itself. Without the intuitive connection to the architect's knowledge, Zoe had to work harder than ever before. But as she immersed herself in the challenges, she realized something profound. Her human perspective, with all its contradictions and complexities, was an asset in itself. Where other competitors approached the dilemmas with rigid logical frameworks or predetermined ethical systems, Zoe brought a uniquely human blend of empathy, creativity, and adaptability. She drew upon the full breadth of Earth's philosophical traditions, from ancient wisdom to cutting-edge theories, synthesizing them with the alien concepts she had learned at the Academy. As the round progressed, Zoe's solutions began to stand out not for their computational perfection or adherence to a single ethical framework, but for their nuanced understanding of the complex interplay between different value systems. She proposed compromises that respected diverse perspectives, found creative workarounds to seemingly irreconcilable differences, and even challenged the underlying assumptions of some scenarios. In the observation deck, the judges watched with growing fascination. Extraordinary, mused a logician from Ta City, its binary eyes blinking in sequence. The human solutions lack the mathematical elegance of the quantum hive mind, yet they consistently produce more holistically beneficial outcomes. A ethical seer from the Orion, Nebula, nodded in agreement, its aura pulsing with shades of approval. There is a wisdom in her approach, a flexibility that allows for growth and adaptation. Most intriguing. As the round came to a close, the leaderboard flickered to life once more. Despite the psionic dampener, despite the unprecedented challenges, Zoe Hawkins had maintained her lead. The gap had narrowed, with the quantum hive mind and a particularly brilliant Arcturian close behind, but she remained at the top. The competition hall erupted in a cacophony of excited chatter, translator devices working overtime to keep up with the myriad languages being spoken. Theories and speculations flew back and forth. Was this the true power of humanity? Had they underestimated this young species all along? As Zoe emerged from her pod, exhausted but exhilarated, she was met by a beaming Zrixri and Crunch. "You did it," Zrixri exclaimed, her empathic abilities broadcasting a wave of joy and pride. "Even with the dampener, you showed them all." Crunch pounded his chest in approval. "Ha! I knew they couldn't keep you down, little star. You fought with the heart of a true Krogan." But amidst the celebration, Zoe noticed a commotion near the judges' area. Administrator Zilvax was engaged in a heated discussion with Lyra and several other beings she didn't recognize. Their expressions were grave, and Zoe could have sworn she saw Zilvax cast a worried glance in her direction. Before she could investigate further, a sharp pain lanced through her head, emanating from the psionic dampener. The device sparked and sputtered, then fell away, smoking slightly. "Impossible," muttered a nearby technician, rushing over to examine the device. "These dampeners are designed to withstand the psychic output of a supernova. How could it have overloaded?" As the pain subsided, Zoe felt a strange sensation washing over her. It was as if a veil had been lifted from her mind, revealing layers of reality she had never before perceived. Fragments of the ancient language swirled through her thoughts, each symbol a key to unimaginable power. For a brief, dizzying moment, Zoe understood everything. The underlying structure of the universe, the interconnectedness of all things, the very nature of existence itself. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly overwhelming. Then, as quickly as it had come, the moment passed. Zoe swayed on her feet, steadied by the concerned hands of her friends. "Zoe." Zrixri's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Are you all right? What happened?" Before Zoe could answer, a klaxon blared throughout the competition hall. Xylox's voice, tinged with an urgency that seemed at odds with his gaseous nature, filled the air. "Attention all participants and spectators. We are detecting a massive temporal spatial anomaly centered on the Olympic arena. For your own safety, please proceed immediately to the designated evacuation areas. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." As chaos erupted around her, Zoe locked eyes with Lyra across the room. The Celestial's expression was one of awe and trepidation, and Zoe could have sworn she heard a whisper in her mind. "It has begun. The power of the architects awakens once more. The galaxy will never be the same." In that moment, Zoe realized that the true challenge, and the true test of humanity's place in the cosmos, was only just beginning. The final showdown. Chaos reigned in the grand hall of the Galactic Academy of Sciences. Beings of all shapes and sizes rushed towards the evacuation points, their panicked cries creating a cacophony of alien sounds. Amidst the pandemonium, Zoe stood at the eye of the storm, her mind reeling from the sudden influx of cosmic awareness. "Zoe, we need to go," Crunch bellowed, his powerful Krogan frame shielding her from the surging crowd. But Zoe remained rooted to the spot, her eyes fixed on the center of the arena, where reality itself seemed to be unraveling. Streams of temporal energy crackled through the air, and the very fabric of space rippled like water disturbed by a stone. I can't leave," Zoe said, her voice barely audible above the din. I think I caused this." Zrixri's antennae quivered with concern. "What do you mean? This can't be your fault." Before Zoe could respond, a shimmering barrier sprang up around them, cutting off the sounds of panic and creating a bubble of calm. Lyra of the Celestial Conclave stepped forward, her starlight skin pulsing with urgent patterns. "You are correct, young one," Lyra said, her voice resonating directly in their minds. "The power awakening within you has triggered this anomaly. But you are not to blame. The knowledge of the architects was always meant to return to the galaxy. You are merely the conduit." Administrator Zilvax appeared at the edge of the barrier, their 4 arms working furiously over a series of holographic displays. "The anomaly is growing exponentially," they reported, their usual calm demeanor cracking under the strain. "If we don't contain it soon, it could tear a hole in the fabric of reality itself." Zoe's mind raced, processing information at speeds she never thought possible. She could see the streams of probability, the intersecting timelines, the very building blocks of the universe laid bare before her. And with that perception came understanding. "I can fix this," she said, her voice growing stronger with conviction. "But I need your help, all of you." Crunch pounded his chest. "Whatever you need, little star. Crunch is with you." Zrixri nodded, her empathic abilities already reaching out to calm the panicked masses. "As am I," Tell us what to do. Zoe turned to Administrator Zilvax. I need you to recalibrate the Olympic Challenge system. We're going to use it to channel and direct the anomaly's energy. Zilvax blinked in surprise but quickly set to work. It will take time to repurpose the entire system. Time, Lyra interjected, is something we can provide. With a gesture, the Celestial created a localized temporal field, slowing the progression of the anomaly relative to their position. As Zilvax worked, Zoe outlined her plan. It was audacious, combining elements of every challenge she had faced in the Olympics with the newfound knowledge surging through her mind. They would need to solve multidimensional problems, navigate temporal paradoxes, and make split-second ethical decisions, all while channeling the raw power of the architects to stabilize the Terran reality. But we can't do it alone, Zoe concluded, looking around at her friends and mentors. We need everyone, every species, every mind working together. Lyra nodded in understanding. With a thought, she expanded her telepathic reach, broadcasting Zoe's plan to every being in the Academy. For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then, one by one, competitors and spectators alike began to move with purpose. The quantum hive mind linked with the Academy's systems, its vast processing power devoted to calculations. Chronivores synchronized their temporal phases, creating a stable framework for the plan. Even the Void Weaver used its non-Euclidean perspective to identify weak points in the fabric of spacetime. As the reconfigured Olympic system hummed to life, Zoe took her place at its center. The knowledge of the architects flowed through her, guiding her actions as she began to weave the disparate energies together. It was like conducting a cosmic orchestra. Zoe's hands moved in intricate patterns, each gesture manipulating vast forces. She could feel the contributions of every being in the Academy, their knowledge, their unique perspectives, their very essence, all flowing through her and into the growing lattice of energy. Crunch's indomitable will provided the strength to hold the construct together. Zrixri's empathy allowed for seamless communication between all participants. Dr. Six's linguistic expertise helped translate the abstract concepts of the architects into actionable commands. As the work progressed, something remarkable began to happen. The barriers between species, between ways of thinking, began to dissolve. In that moment of crisis, united by a common purpose, the gathered beings of the galaxy achieved a level of cooperation and understanding unprecedented in cosmic history. Zoe felt the power building, reaching a crescendo. With a final, sweeping gesture, she released the accumulated energy directly into the heart of the anomaly. There was a blinding flash of light, a sensation of reality twisting and reshaping itself, and then silence. As the light faded and normal spacetime reasserted itself, the gathered beings looked around in awe. The anomaly was gone, the terror in reality sealed. But something had changed. The very air seemed charged with potential, and each being felt a newfound connection to the cosmos and to each other. Lyra stepped forward, her form now blazing with celestial light. You have done more than simply avert a crisis, Zoe Hawkins of Earth. You have ushered in a new era for our galaxy. Administrator Zilvax, their composure regained, nodded in agreement. The intergalactic cognitive Olympics were meant to showcase the best our species had to offer. I don't think any of us anticipated just how literal that would become. As the implications of what had occurred began to sink in, a new sound filled the hall. Applause. It started slowly but quickly grew into a thunderous ovation. Beings of all kinds cheered, their differences forgotten in the face of what they had accomplished together. Zoe, overwhelmed by emotion and the lingering effects of cosmic awareness, felt tears streaming down her cheeks. Crunch wrapped her in a gentle, for a Krogan, hug, while Zrixri projected waves of joy and pride. So, Crunch rumbled, a mischievous glint in his eye. Does this mean you win the Olympics by default? Laughter rippled through the crowd, breaking the last of the tension. Psylocke, the gaseous chief adjudicator, floated forward. I believe. Xylox intoned, his voice filled with amusement. that we may need to rethink the entire concept of the Olympics after this. Perhaps something more collaborative is in order. In the days that followed, news of the events at the Galactic Academy of Sciences spread across the cosmos. Humanity, long dismissed as a primitive species, was suddenly thrust into the galactic spotlight. Diplomats and scientists from 1,000 worlds clamored to establish relations with Earth, eager to learn more about the species that had produced someone like Zoe. For Zoe herself, the future was both thrilling and daunting. The knowledge of the architects remained within her, a vast legacy that would take lifetimes to fully understand and integrate. But she was not alone. The friends she had made at the academy, the connections forged in that moment of crisis, would be with her every step of the way. As she prepared to return to Earth, now as an ambassador of both her planet and the rediscovered architect legacy, Zoe reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. She had come to the Galactic Academy of Sciences to prove humanity's worth, to show that Earth deserved a place among the stars. In the end, she had done so much more. Zoe Hawkins, a young girl from a small planet on the edge of the galaxy, had not only showcased humanity's potential, but had helped usher in a new age of galactic cooperation and understanding. As her ship prepared for departure, Zoe looked out at the starfield before her. The universe stretched out, vast and full of wonders, challenges, and possibilities. And humanity, with its unique blend of intuition, creativity, and adaptability, was ready to take its place as a full member of the galactic community. The future, Zoe realized, was unwritten, and she couldn't wait to see what the next chapter would bring.